अहिलेको टाइममा चाहिँ होइन आइटी कम्प्युटर होइन इन्टरनेटको भने जस्तै एउटा हट छ नि त सबैले त्यो पढ्नुपर्छ भने त्यति बेला चाहिँ बायोटेक्नोलोजी चाहिँ एकदमै हट थियो कि फर्स्ट इयर अफ माई कलेज आई टप द कलेज सेकेन्ड इयर अफ माई कलेज आई वाज अवार्डेड बेस्ट स्टुडेन्ट अफ फार्मेसी थर्ड इयरमा चाहिँ आई गट स्कलरसिप फुल इयर स्कलरसिप एन्ड फोर्थ इयरमा जाँदा जाँदै चाहिँ आई गट प्लेस्ड एट द इन्डियाज टप फार्मास्युटिकल कम्पनी एज अ रिसर्च साइन्टिस्ट 1.5 वर्ष जब गरिसके पछाडि त एन्ड देन आई फेल शिट मैले चाहिँ रेस चाहिँ दौडिरहेको थिएँ रेस चाहिँ जितिरहेको थिएँ तर यो चाहिँ आफूलाई कहिल्यै पनि सोधिनँ कि म सही रेसमा दौडिरहेको छु सही रेस जितिरहेको छु 1 वर्षको टाइम दिनुहोस् आई जस्ट वान्ट टु डु अ पडकास्ट एन्ड इफ यु थिङ्क द्याट आइम गोना मेक समथिङ आउट अफ इट यदि योबाट चाहिँ केही भयो 1 वर्षमा भने चाहिँ भयो अदरवाइज आई लिभ द इन्टायर रेस्ट अफ माई लाइफ इन योर टर्म्स सुरुमा चाहिँ वेन यु सेन्ड इमेल होइन तपाईँले कसैलाई इन्टरभ्यूमा आउन इन्टरभ्यू गराउन भन्दाखेरि पिपल विल आइदर नेभर रेस्पोन्ड अर दे विल से नो आई डोन्ट वान्ट कम अन यर शो एन्ड द्याट रियली हर्ट्स द डुवर्स इज always gonna be better than the copy of Doer.
Hey guys, welcome back to yet another episode of Doers. This is season 3 and we are recording our last episode with a very special person. I'm really proud, I'm really happy to have such a special guest today. So I think without further ado, I would want you to introduce yourself because there is a lot of amazing conversation is going to have. Let's have Bijay. Bijay, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me here and first I'd like to congratulate you for doing this amazing
Thank
thing
you so
and
much.
this amazing podcast and I'm pretty impressed already. I mentioned you before we were rolling. So how do I introduce myself?
You introduce yourself as the number one podcaster in India.
All right. Okay, cool. I wouldn't probably say that. But anyway, so yeah, I host this podcast. I'm a podcaster first, and then I'm a podcast coach and consultant, which means I teach people podcasting. And also I run a company in India. It's called WYN Studio, which stands for What's Your Narrative? So we believe in the power of narrative and stories. So we help brands and organizations, share their narrative with the world. So yeah, we run that company and my podcast, it's been 2 years that I've started my podcast and been fortunate to have some of the great listener feedback and, have some of the amazing conversation and meet amazing people for the show. And it has been finalist for Asia's Best Podcast Award.
Wow.
At Asia Podcast Summit. And on Apple ranking, it has been number 1 in India under all categories and it usually is number 1 self-help podcast in India. So yeah, that's pretty much about me.
So I was going through your Facebook profile and then after a couple of clicks, I saw this guy wearing a cloth apron, a pharmacist. And now I was stalking your profile in 2019. So how does the transformation happen from a pharmacist to a podcaster?
त्यो चाहिँ एकदमै इन्ट्रेस्टिङ स्टोरी छ सो त्यसको लागि चाहिँ आई हेभ टु कम ब्याक टु काठमाडौँ राइट सो in 2009 I believe I completed my school होइन 12th सकाइसके पछाडि चाहिँ एन्ड 12th सम्म चाहिँ I was a very average student. So when you are an average student होइन तपाईँको चाहिँ nobody really cares about you, bothers about you, right? So if you are very talented then everybody talks about you, then you are on spotlight, right?
Yes.
So I mean parents are proud, मेरो छोरा एकदम topper होइन, teachers are proud and you have the responsibility and you have all that attention and everything, right? अनि अर्को चाहिँ इफ यु आर एकदमै बेकार then you fail on all the subject then
you're pretty famous on that part.
And then you are pretty famous, like everybody points at you, pointing finger
this
at
has
you,
to be the guy,
right? And this is the guy. पढ्दैनस् नले केही पनि हुँदैन. And I was an average. So for an average nobody really cares, right? So and life goes smooth. Life चाहिँ मजाले चलिरहेको हुन्छ, कसैले केही भन्दैन. I mean and you really do not fail and एकदमै मैले यो गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने त्यो प्रेसर पनि छैन, पर्फर्मेन्सको प्रेसर पनि छैन. एन्ड देन nobody even point finger at you कि तैँले केही गरेनस् भनेर, right? Your life is going pretty decent. So that was exactly what's happening with me till my 12th, right? So I completed my 12th and then I came to Kathmandu, right? So From Sunwal.
Sunwal.
It's a place near Butol. If you come towards Narayangarh from Butol, 20 kilometers, there's this place called Sunwal. So yeah, Sunwalबाट चाहिँ म काठमाडौँ आएँ होइन. अनि त्यति बेला चाहिँ सबै अहिले जस्तै अहिलेको टाइममा चाहिँ होइन आइटी कम्प्युटर होइन इन्टरनेटको भने जस्तै एउटा हट छ नि त सबैले त्यो पढ्नुपर्छ भने त्यति बेला चाहिँ बायोटेक्नोलोजी चाहिँ एकदमै हट थियो कि 2010-11 चाहिँ होइन बायोटेक्नोलोजी इज गन बी नेक्स्ट बिग थिङ भनेर होइन त्यो
So an average guy just followed the trend.
Yes, average guy just followed the trend and I said okay I just want to study biotechnology at Kathmandu University भनेर होइन and I joined entrance preparation and studied hard and then I couldn't make it.
Okay.
अनि काठमाडौँ युनिभर्सिटीमा चाहिँ नाम निकाल्न सकिनँ अनि त्यस पछाडि चाहिँ and that kind of hit me like that kind of really hit me यार अहिलेसम्म कहिले फेल नभएको काहीँ नरोक्या how can I like fail and that was something probably I think that failure kind of got into me अनि त्यति बेला चाहिँ मैले के भनेको थिएँ भने मैले बेस्ट युनिभर्सिटीमा नाम ननिकाल्न सक्यो भने वेयर एभर आई गो आई विल बी द बेस्ट के म जहाँ जान्छु त्यहाँ गर्छु आई विल बी बेस्ट भन्ने त्यो एउटा कुरा चाहिँ द्याट वाज द काइन्ड अफ कमिटमेन्ट द्याट आई ह्याड होइन अनि त्यस पछाडि चाहिँ माई ड्याड वाज इन दिल्ली त्यो भइसके पछाडि चाहिँ म इन्डिया गएँ
ड्याडी चाहिँ बच्चादेखि नै इन्डियामा
बच्चादेखि म बच्चादेखि हुँदैदेखि नै माई ड्याड वाज इन इन्डिया होइन अनि उहाँ उतै हुनुहुन्थ्यो त्यो भएर चाहिँ म दिल्ली गएँ अनि दिल्ली गएर चाहिँ म फार्मेसी जोइन भएँ होइन बायोटेक्नोलोजी चाहिँ होइन फार्मेसी पढ्ने त्यस पछाडि ओके बायोटेक्नोलोजी भएन ल ठिक छ त्यसपछि के पढ्ने त अर्को भन्दाखेरि फार्मेसी भनेर अनि फार्मेसी पढेँ अनि त्यति बेला चाहिँ जुन त्यो मैले भनेको थिएँ नि आई वान बी बेस्ट वेयर एभर आई गो भन्ने अनि त्यो चाहिँ प्रोबेबली समथिङ द्याट स्टक टु मी होइन अनि म कलेजमा चाहिँ आई रिमेम्बर क्लियरली फर्स्ट डे म कलेजमा जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ क्लासमा चाहिँ अब कलेजको आई वाज लेट टु जोइन द कलेज एक हप्ता पछाडि म जोइन गरेको थिएँ बट लाइक टिचर्स वुड आस्क द क्वेसन्स होइन अनि आई वाज जस्ट नोटिसिङ को रहेछ यहाँ ट्यालेन्ट भनेर यस्तो हेरिरहेको हुन्थ्यो कि म यसले आन्सर दिएँ भनेपछि यो चाहिँ मेरो कम्पिटिटर हो अच्छा यो पनि मेरो कम्पिटिटर होइन एन्ड आई वाज जस्ट मेकिङ नोट कि ओके दिज आर द कम्पिटिटर्स एन्ड अल दिज किड्स दे हेभ लाइक 90% होइन 11-12मा चाहिँ मेरो चाहिँ कति भन्दा 68% है अनि त्यस पछाडि आई वाज स्टिल मेकिङ नोट ओके यु गाइज आर माई कम्पिटिटर अनि फास्ट फरवर्ड टु लाइक द कलेज लाइफ फर्स्ट इयर अफ माई कलेज आई टप द कलेज सेकेन्ड इयर अफ माई कलेज आई वाज अवार्डेड बेस्ट स्टुडेन्ट अफ फार्मेसी द सेम गाई हु वाज एभरेज थर्ड इयरमा चाहिँ आई गट स्कलरसिप फुल इयर स्कलरसिप एन्ड फोर्थ इयरमा जाँदै चाहिँ आई गट प्लेस्ड एट द इन्डियाज टप फार्मास्युटिकल कम्पनी एज अ रिसर्च साइन्टिस्ट राइट एन्ड नाउ इट लुक्स लाइक भयो अब सक्सेसफुल भयो होइन लाइफ सेट छ अब के चाहिएर भनेर होइन अब चाहिँ बबालै भयो नि लाइफ होइन सेट भयो भने जस्तो भयो अनि 1.5 वर्ष जब गरिसके पछाडि त एन्ड देन आई फेल सेट मैले चाहिँ रेस चाहिँ दौडिरहेको थिएँ रेस चाहिँ जितिरहेको थिएँ तर यो चाहिँ आफूलाई कहिल्यै पनि सोधिनँ कि म सही रेसमा दौडिरहेको छु सही रेस जितिरहेको छु भनेर मैले कहिल्यै सोधिनँ चाहिँ क्या म चाहिँ दौडे जितेँ एन्ड सम डे आई स्टप इन आस्क लाइक okay
this is not a sprint, this is a marathon.
And then I realized, damn, I have been winning these races, but this is not the race I was meant to win.
True.
And nice. So when that hit me, and here's the interesting thing. When you are faced with this kind of situation, होइन लाइफमा चाहिँ ल मैले चाहिँ यो गरिरहेको छु यो चाहिँ सायद मैले गर्न चाहन्न या दिस इज नट समथिङ द्याट आइएम that this is not something that I enjoy doing भन्ने फिलिङ भइसके पछाडि you have two options. One, look at all the things that you have done. In my case, मैले चाहिँ पछिल्लो 4 वर्ष वेस्ट गरेँ त्यस पछाडि 1 वर्ष जब गरेँ बाबा मैले त्यत्रो पैसा लाएर पढाएँ नाउ हाउ क्यान आई से द्याट आई एम नट इन्जोइङ फार्मेसी या बिङ रिसर्च साइन्टिस्ट एन्ड क्यान थिङ्क अबाउट समथिङ एल्स नाउ अल माई 4 years is going to get wasted and then you adjust to that and then leave with that feeling of this
and you compromise
and then you compromise for the rest of your life. True. And that's where frustration you see in a lot of frustrated people and that's one of the reasons because they are not happy with whatever they are doing.
Exactly, regardless of what they have achieved in their life.
Absolutely, they are not happy internally, right? They might get all those milestones and all of that but they are not happy because that's not the job they want to wake up tomorrow morning and go to, right?
True.
And a lot of people unfortunately 80 to 90% of people
so true man
walk that path,
not maybe even
95% even walk that path. And the option number 2 is you say scrap this, I want to do something else,
I'll take a U-turn,
I want to take a totally new path, I want to take this risk, right? I thought I want to do I just can't live with this feeling for the rest of my life. म चाहिँ इन्जोय नगरिकन मजा नआइकन and then I thought, okay, this is not something that I want to do. त्यो भइसके पछाडि then now I had no idea. All I knew was pharmacy. All I knew was medicine. All I knew was, being a research scientist, as you were saying, wearing the apron, wearing the cap and going and doing my research at the lab. मैले जाने त त्यति नै हो नि त. त्यो भइसके पछाडि चाहिँ I thought, okay, so now what probably would be interesting would be to मान्छेहरूलाई चाहिँ इन्टरभ्यू गर्छु, गएर चाहिँ जसले चाहिँ खतरा खतरा सक्सेसफुल भइरहेछ नि मान्छेहरू, उनीहरूको इन्टरभ्यू गर्छु अनि उनीहरूलाई सोध्छु तैँले चाहिँ कसरी त्यत्रो ठुलो अचिभ गरिस्, वाट्स बिन यो अप एन्ड डाउन इन यो लाइफ, हाउ यु अचिभ वाट यु अचिभ इन यर लाइफ भन्न खोजेको चाहिँ हाउ यु गाइज फिगर्ड आउट द पाथ फर यो अन लाइफ होइन. आई जस्ट आस्क दिस क्वेसन्स टु पिपल एन्ड प्रोबेबली आई विल फाइन्ड माई अन आन्सर. सो द्याट वाज द सिम्पल थिङ द्याट आई वान्टेड टु डु वेन आई द फर्स्ट थिङ अबाउट स्टार्टिङ अ पडकास्ट केम इन टु माई माइन्ड.
मैले तिमीलाई टोकेर दुईवटा क्वेसन त्यो जुन त्यत्रो आफ्नो पढाइ गरिसकेपछि एउटा करियर स्टेबल भइसकेपछि जुन त्यो डिसिजन लियो नि लाइक टेकिङ अ यु टर्न, त्यो चाहिँ एकदमै स्ट्यान्टेनियस डिसिजन थियो कि टुक लाइक 6 months 5 months 2 months 3 months एउटा गुड नम्बर अफ अमाउन्ट अफ टाइम लिएर लियो. अर्को क्वेसन चाहिँ वाइ इन्टरभ्युइङ पिपल क्या, जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल पहिलेदेखि एक्स्ट्रोभर्ट थियो या बोल्न मजा लाग्थ्यो या केही न केही त रिलेट भयो नि त, गएर म ऱ्यान्डमली मान्छेसँग बोल्छु भन्न त लागि पनि त मान्छे आई थिङ्क वान अफ द बिगेस्ट फियर पिपल हेभ इज पब्लिक स्पिकिङ, गोइङ आउट एन्ड अप्रोचिङ पिपल. सो हाउ अल दिस मेड सेन्स फर यु के? So 2 questions.
Yeah. So the first question, as I mentioned, I didn't said कि अब चाहिँ मलाई जबमा मजा आइरहेको छैन, म चाहिँ अब पडकास्ट गर्छु, स्क्रैप द जब भनेर चाहिँ आई डिडन्ट डु द्याट एन्ड आई डोन्ट रेकमेन्ड एनी वान टु डु द्याट. यो पडकास्ट सुनेर चाहिँ ल होइन अब चाहिँ अब यो चाहिँ मजा आइरहेको छैन भने पछाडि छोड्ने आफ्नो गर्ने भनेर, नो द्याट्स नट डेफिनेटली समथिङ द्याट आई रेकमेन्ड एन्ड द्याट्स नट वाट आई हेभ डन एज वेल. मैले त्यो पनि गरे होइन. वाट आई डिड वाज आई डिड माई जब एन्ड आई did the podcast on the side of it for like 15 months before I actually quit my job. Okay. Right? 1.5 वर्षसम्म चाहिँ म जब र पडकास्ट मेरो सँगसँगै चलिरहेको थियो, प्यारलली चलिरहेको थियो है.
कसो गर्थ्यो? दिउँसो गर्थ्यो, साँझ गर्थ्यो, बिहान गर्थ्यो?
सो कसो टाइम आई युज टु वर्क 8 बजे बेलुकादेखि लिएर 2 बजे बिहानसम्म वाज द टाइम द्याट आई युज टु वर्क फर माई पडकास्ट. बिकज मेरो जब चाहिँ रिसर्च भएको भएर चाहिँ यु क्यान जस्ट टर्न अफ द ल्यापटप एन्ड कम ब्याक होम. 5 बजे छुट्टी भन्ने हुँदैन. वन्स यु स्टार्ट द रिसर्च आई मिन एउटा एक्सपेरिमेन्ट लगाइसके पछाडि चाहिँ यु हेभ टु कम्प्लिट द्याट राइट. सो त्यो कम्प्लिट गरिसके पछाडि देन ओन्ली यु क्यान कम ब्याक होम, अर एटलिस्ट इफ यु आर पुटिङ इट अन द सिस्टम होइन, कुनै इक्विपमेन्टमा हाल्नु भएको छ एनालाइसिसको लागि भने त्यो छोडेर तपाईँ जान सक्नुहुने भयो. बट यु क्यानट जस्ट सर्ट एभ्रिथिङ 5 बजे लैनौ भनेर त्यो हुँदैन थियो. सो टाइम वाज भेरी कहिले चाहिँ 8 9 10 बजिरहेको हुन्थ्यो घर पुग्दाखेरि. बट 8 बजेदेखि 1 या 2 बजेको टाइम वाज वेयर आई युज टु वर्क मोस्टली एन्ड अभियसली विकेन्ड्स.
अनि कस्तो हुन्थ्यो मान्छेलाई अनलाइन नै इन्टरभ्यू लिने?
यस, आई स्टिल डु अनलाइन इन्टरभ्युज. मोस्ट अफ माई इन्टरभ्युज आर अनलाइन.
Nice. That's a good insight for us.
Yeah. So you don't, I mean, again, so initial idea was, and again, that was the first thing that you asked, right? So second thing, that you have probably asked, was about asking with people, talking with people, right?
So were you an extrovert सुरुदेखि नै या बोल्न?
So I am as a person, an introvert person. At least I would like to call it.
Introvert person doing a very successful podcast.
So introvert, I mean, in a way, like when introvert, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can probably call me a situational extrovert.
Or ambivert. There is a new, people have identified a new word.
So probably you can call me situational extrovert. भने चाहिँ कुनै टपिकमा केही कुरा गर्नु छ, लेट्स से इफ आई हेभ टु टक बिजनेस या कुनै कुरामा गर्नु छ भने
पर्दैन नि बोल्दिने,
आई क्यान गो एन्ड टक लाइक. अदरवाइज इफ आई जस्ट हेभ टु डु स्मल टक लाइक केही पनि नर्मल्ली हुन्छ नि, जस्तै मान्छेहरू कहाँको के स्टोरी कुरा गरेर हुन्छ होइन. देयर आर पिपल हु have a lot of things to talk about, right? And I'm not that guy who have a lot of things to talk about unless it's business, right?
Unless it's about
specific topic
या niche को बारेमा.
Yeah, एउटा कुनै टपिक छ भने चाहिँ I can go like on and have that conversation, right? And some of the topic that I'm passionate about. Otherwise चाहिँ I'm like I remember म अफिसमा चाहिँ मेरो सेकेन्ड फ्लोरमा चाहिँ मेरो अफिस हुन्थ्यो होइन. अनि ग्राउन्ड फ्लोरबाट चाहिँ जस्तै गेटबाट एन्ट्री गरिसके पछाडि इट वाज लाइक 2 minute वक बिफोर आई रिच द्याट एलिभेटर होइन. अनि गेटमा चाहिँ कोही भेट्यो मलाई अफिसको होइन, मेरो डिपार्टमेन्टको. अनि त्योसँग चाहिँ त्यो 2 मिनटको वक प्लस त्यो लिफ्टमा जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ मैले गर्न जान्ने भने चाहिँ त्यो कुरा भने चाहिँ ए आज कस्तो मौसम जाडो है, आज कस्तो घाम ला है, त्यो बाहेकलाई आई डोन्ट नो अब के कुरा गर्ने. आई रियली डोन्ट नो. I mean, what you want to talk about, right? So I do not have a lot of things to talk about. So in that way, probably you can call me situational extrovert. But म चाहिँ मान्छेको अगाडि बोल्न चाहिँ, so I think a lot of people finds it difficult to speak in front of a lot of thousands of people,
True.
hundreds of people, but they find it very comfortable to have one-on-one conversation. But it's opposite for me.
Nice.
म 5 वर्षको यत्रै बच्चा हुँदादेखि नै आई रिमेम्बर अब त्यो डायस हुन्थ्यो नि स्कुलको डायसमा आई होस्टेड माई स्कुल्स इभेन्ट होइन म 5 क्लासमा थिएँ होला अनि मेरो चाहिँ आधा चाहिँ फेस नै ढाकिएको थियो डायसले होइन पोडियममा म पछाडि बसेर चाहिँ होस्ट गरिरहेको छु क्या इभेन्ट होस्ट गरिरहेको छु अनि एभ्रिबडी प्यारेन्ट्स वाज लाइक यस्तो खतरा आवाज आइरहेछ बट देख्दिनँ त को पुच्चे हो यो भनेर होइन सो फ्रम द्याट टाइम होस्टिङ एन्ड अल अफ द्याट आई युज टु डु सो द्याट वाज अ काइन्ड अफ म एक्चुली 10 क्लासमा हुँदाखेरि एउटा चाहिँ लोकल रेडियो स्टेसन खुल्न थाल्यो थियो त्यसमा गएर सुनौलमा होइन खैरेनी भन्ने 5 किलोमिटर टाढा चाहिँ थाहा छ है अनि त्यहाँ चाहिँ रेडियो स्टेसन खोल्दै थियो रेडियो देवदह भन्ने अनि त्यो रेडियो देवदहमा चाहिँ मैले एउटा प्रोग्रामको कन्सेप्ट लिएर त्यो ट्रायल पनि दिन गएको थिएँ गएर चाहिँ ट्रायल पनि दिएँ स्क्रिप्ट बनाएर होइन सेलेक्ट चाहिँ भएन अनि त्यो चाहिँ एउटा प्रोभाब्ली त्यो काहीँ न काहीँ त्यो एउटा हुँदो रहेछ क्या चाइल्डहुड ड्रिम जस्तो होइन त्यो काहीँ न काहीँ दब्याएको थियो बिकज आई न्यू I knew that I can speak well and I knew that I can do pretty well अनि म चाहिँ काठमाडौँ हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ एकचोटि चाहिँ मैले के गरेको थिएँ भने फनी स्टोरी होस्टेलमा बस्दाखेरि चाहिँ काठमाडौँ होस्टेलमा बस्थेँ अनि त्यो होस्टेलको त्यो दाई हुनुहुन्थ्यो जो होस्टेल चलाउनुहुन्थ्यो नि उहाँलाई चाहिँ मैले एकचोटि के गरेँ भने त्यो मेरो फोनमा चाहिँ एउटा पत्रिका निकालेँ होइन अनि पत्रिका निकालेर चाहिँ मैले अलिकति त्यो रेकर्ड गरेँ कि यो BBC नेपाली सेवा हो कार्यक्रमबाट सुरेन्द्र फुयालको नमस्कार भनेर अनि आई रेड द या एक्ज्याक्टली आई रेकर्डेड लाइक अ 3-4 मिनट बिट अफ इट अनि ल र उहाँलाई चाहिँ सुन्नु दिएँ कि मैले ल यो सुन्नु न दाई भनेर दाई समाचार आइरहेको रहेछ सुन्नु न भने उहाँ चाहिँ मजाले 3 मिनटसम्म 2 मिनटसम्म सुनिरहेको दाई के सुन्नु भयो भने त समाचार आइरहेको छ तिमीले दिए होइन भने दाई मेरो भोइस हो भने अहिले कहाँ so yeah I mean so that's a funny story so yeah I mean talking to people I always wanted to do that and probably RJ भन्ने त्यो काहीँ न काहीँ childhood dream थियो so yeah that's how I thought okay probably so main reason for me was obviously one as I mentioned is the childhood dream तर त्यो भन्दा पनि अर्को कुरा चाहिँ which probably the reason for me to do podcast was to as I mentioned I wanted to figure something out and probably be friends with these successful people
okay
and here's the thing दिउँसो चाहिँ मेरो अफिसमा there are people whom I'm hanging with होइन the company that I have of the people are the people who are complaining about the food in cafeteria, the people who are complaining about their promotion, the people who are complaining about their boss, people who are complaining about literally everything. All they do is complain in their life. And probably most of them, because they chose to walk on the, option number 1 we talked earlier, right?
Very
so,
true.
and all they have is frustration.
And what else do you expect out of them?
Yeah, and there is a lot of frustration, right? And then you have to vomit it out.
True.
And that's what you do all day long, right? And that's the kind of company that I have, or that's the kind of people I hang out within the day. And during the nights and weekend, I'm hanging out with the people who are talking about the vision, who are talking about the purpose. These are the people who are talking about building great companies. These are the people who are talking about, following their passion, purpose, helping people. And these guys are playing a totally different level. And then when I was, having this conversation with people, it did something to me. It transformed my mindset completely. You imagine, like, if you talk to somebody who every day talks about big vision, you start believing in yourself.
True.
You start believing that, if you have like 5 CEOs friend, and even if you are nobody, then you are definitely going to be the 6th one. You are definitely going to start.
Sure. You are an average of 5 people. You
Absolutely. And that's so true. And that's so true even for my case, right? So, and that kind of helped me shift my own mindset from, what I was doing. And probably that gave me more courage to quit my job. Even when I was doing podcast for 15 months.
त्यो 15 महिना अनि सफोकेसन हुन्थेन रात दिउँसोतिर राति यस्तो भइरहेको छ डिफ्रेन्ट माइन्डसेट डिफ्रेन्ट हाईमा छौ तिमी हैन अनि
Absolutely
इट्स लाइक फक म्यान किल यु
and that frustration on the like 15 month ko last ko 3 mahina chahi like when this is something that you are going to leave and you still are here for another 3 months or so and I'm like yeah I mean obviously you are more excited for the thing that you are building on the side in the weekend so yeah I mean that was probably that's how I built the whole podcasting thing and then
nice.
yeah
that's an amazing story man मैले आफ्नो तर्फबाट हेर्दा फेरि चाहिँ हैन जस्तै फर एक्जाम्पल डेफिनेटली तिमी इन्डियामा बसेर इंग्लिशमा पडकास्ट गरेर आएको छौ अनि आई थिंक internet gives you a freedom. It does not make you limited to one geography neither. It makes you global.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely. So in a way, like I'm thankful that Radio Debda guy didn't shortlisted me. Or like I would be RJ of Debda Radio and then be localized in that one particular small city. Now I was looking at the start last week and मेरो podcast चाहिँ now people listen in more than 100 countries.
Shit.
So now see the scale that you can go with the internet, right? So which is,
was it a very conscious decision to do a podcast in English, not in Hindi? Yeah, not in any other language.
So Hindi, म इन्डियामा 8 वर्ष भयो बस्न थाल्यो, but still I'm not confident in like doing a show in Hindi even today. So that was one, and obviously I wanted to have conversation not only with achievers from India but across the globe. So that was also another idea. I wanted to like do a show in English. So yeah, that was the conscious decision that I made. Okay, I want to reach people across the globe, and अनि त्यो भएको भएर चाहिँ I chose it.
अब तिम्रो तर्फबाट हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ I think I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, तिम्रो तर्फबाट हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ okay, I'm going to reach to the whole world हुन्छ होला र हामीले तिमीलाई हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ okay, there is this one Nepali guy who like the whole India ले सुनिरहेको छ to some extent, हैन, maybe not whole India literally.
Yeah.
त्यो हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ like shit man, anything is possible के म यहाँ छु म त्यहाँ छु भनेर कम्प्लेन गर्न त अब गोली हान्दियो के त कम्प्लेनलाई, हैन?
Absolutely, and I get a lot of I coach people on podcasting as well, and धेरै मान्छेको एक्सक्युज चाहिँ के हुन्छ भने मसँग टाइम छैन भन्ने एक्सक्युज हुन्छ क्या. एन्ड आई टेल देम लाइक आई ह्याड दिस जब, होइन, त्यो जबको सँग आई समहाउ म्यानेज टु डु दि पडकास्ट अन द साइड अफ इट. And then I was very consistently producing one episode. Now you do the show and you know how much time, efforts and energy it takes to put together a podcast, होइन. अनि त्यो भइसके पछाडि चाहिँ लाइक it's just that if you have that drive, number one, that you want to do something, and number two, what I have realized is for the last 2.5 years, if you go and see my Facebook feed, if you go and see my LinkedIn, if you go and see my Instagram, wherever you see, the only thing that I talk about is podcast. Okay. It's like that focus, on one thing that you want to achieve in your life. And if you are so focused, it's easy. I mean, really,
you can hack the time.
You can definitely. I mean, you can like really make it happen if you are really focused and focus on one thing consistently without focusing here and then. And there's this interesting story. I started a podcast. Typical Nepali parents जस्तै मेरो प्यारेन्ट्सले पनि मलाई US जान भन्नुभयो. And when you are a college topper, when you have a good academics, and when your parents believe that यसले चाहिँ मजाले जान सक्छ, कसैको चाहिँ प्यारेन्ट्सलाई चाहिँ हुन्छ यो चाहिँ सक्दैन भन्ने हुन्छ हैन,
लाइक 25-30 लाख हाल्न पर्ला या दुनिया गर्न पर्ला.
Yes, absolutely. And then my parents know for a reason that he has a potential, अनि यो चाहिँ मजाले स्कॉलरशिपमा US मा जान सक्छ.
अझ उल्टे पैसा पठाउँछ.
अनि पैसा पठाउँछ, राइट? obviously, राइट? So अनि मैले टोफल दिइरहेको छु इन दिस होल प्रेसर. यता पडकास्ट चलिरहेछ, यता जब छ, अनि यता चाहिँ युएसको प्रेसर छ, राइट? सपना
मम्मी ड्याडीको
अभियसली. अनि त्यो पढ्न चाहिँ के जाने, फार्मेसी.
ओके,
राइट? सो नाउ यु सी द पोजिसन द्याट आई एम इन, राइट? अनि त्यस पछाडि चाहिँ आई टुक टोफलमा आई थिङ्क आई स्कोर्ड रियली गुड. आई वाज प्रिपेयरिङ फर GRE. आई वाज डुइङ podcast
side by side.
I think I haven't started podcast yet. I was thinking about starting a podcast. I was on the research process, podcast को research process मा GRE गरिरहेको छु. अनि यता चाहिँ मलाई चाहिँ यार I need to probably inspire people. I need to and I was consumer of self-help books. अनि त्यो पढेर चाहिँ I wanted to become a speaker in a way, right? Inspire people in a way, and that's how the whole Inspiring Talk name came as well. So त्यो चाहिँ ड्राइभ भित्र चाहिँ that's exciting me. अनि यता चाहिँ टोफल भइसक्यो. टोफल त दिएर रिजल्ट पनि आइसक्यो, नम्बर पनि आइसक्यो. GRE प्रिपरेसन चलिरहेछ. अनि GRE प्रिपरेसन पढेर के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि फार्मेसी पढ्दैछु. फेरि अर्को 2 वर्ष वेस्ट गर्दैछु मैले आफ्नो लाइफको. अनि त्यस पछाडि 4 + 2 भनेर 6, 1 वर्षको यो बिचमा 2-3 वर्षको भनेर 7-8 वर्ष टाइम लगाइसके पछाडि त it's going to get even difficult for somebody to make that decision of okay, I don't want to do this anymore, and I know that I don't want to do pharmacy anymore, हैन? अनि त्यो थाहा भइसके पछाडि, and especially my dad was like really adamant. And then one day I stood up and said, okay, here's the thing. I packed all my GRE thing अनि बोरामा हालेर चाहिँ I just threw it on the side of my home. अनि मैले भने give me 1 year, 1 वर्षको टाइम दिनुहोस्, I'll just want to do a podcast. एन्ड इफ यु थिङ्क द्याट आइम गन मेक समथिङ आउट अफ इट, यदि योबाट चाहिँ केही भयो 1 वर्षमा भने चाहिँ भयो, अदरवाइज आई लिभ द रेस्ट अफ माई लाइफ इन योर टर्म्स. सो आई डिड द्याट एन्ड देन आई विस इट वाज द्याट इजी कन्भर्सेसन. त्यो चाहिँ त्यति सजिलो कन्भर्सेसन थिएन. नेपाली प्यारेन्ट्स यु नो राइट हाउ, I mean, the only success, the measure of success is that you go to US. You know it, right? So you know it. So त्यो सबै, and then it happened, and we didn't even spoke for a couple of days. And then I said, but I was very adamant that I'm going to take 1 year of my life for myself and for my dreams.
So why podcast? You could have gone blogging, you could have gone vlogging, you could have like anything. Why podcast?
So blog was dead. I mean, nobody reads blog. At least I assume to. I want to believe that not so many people read blog, and the attention span is going down. Video ko lagi, I had no resources. Neither I had money, neither I had
experience.
Experience, and also neither I had amount to set up the studio like this, right? So the moment you do video, let's say I started a video thing like yours, right? I would need to invest, and I need to have the guest in front of me like you do, right? So you are, I mean, for example, let's say if you are doing a show like yours where you need guests to be in front of you, then you are restricted to like the people who are in Kathmandu in a way.
True,
I know. Some of those reasons, and also video production along with the side job, I think that was too much of overkill for me as well. So these are the 3 reasons I said, okay, I think it would be good to do a podcast. You have a microphone lab, and then you sit on your bed, and I'm chatting with entrepreneurs, achievers, and from my bedroom. So yeah.
Will they also have because you would at least you would need because podcast is a lot about audio experience, isn't
it?
You gotta produce good quality sound.
Yep.
Okay, so you bought a mic. What about the other guy, the guest? Would he also have a good quality of mic?
You cannot control the audio quality on the other side. So I think you have to pretty much live with that.
Okay.
Yeah. So you cannot do anything about unless you have millions of followers, and unless you are on that level where you can say, okay, I'll only interview you if you have this mic.
Okay. Or I'm giving you a gift.
Or you are giving, I'm sending you the mic. Actually, a lot of people do, not in India, but in US. Yeah, they do actually. They like get 3-4 microphones, which they keep shipping to different guests that they are interviewing. They ship it, they ask it back, and then they but that's again that's the whole. But now technology is making it easier. If you listen to my shows, it really doesn't you don't feel that kind of distraction on the audio, except for some of the episodes, obviously.
So what's the frequency of the podcast you used to do?
Weekly.
No, I mean, so 1 podcast a week.
Yes.
So in 15 months you almost did 15 into 4, like that's 45.
Yes.
So you hit the benchmark in 45 number of episodes.
6 months is when I really started getting traction for my show. 6 महिनासम्म त like there were 50-100 जना मान्छेले सुनिरहन्थ्यो हैन, बट 6 महिना भइसके पछाडि चाहिँ देन people started noticing.
अनि कहाँ क्लिक भयो? कुनै एपिसोड भाइरल गयो कि या केही भयो कि?
Probably, yeah. I mean, I think so there is this YouTuber called Bijay Gautam भन्ने YouTuber छ है. So Bijay Gautam is a YouTuber from India, but she is based in US. अनि युएसमा चाहिँ सी क्रिएट म्यासअप सङ्ग्स. उसले चाहिँ इङ्ग्लिस र हिन्दीको, अनि त्यस पछाडि इन्डियाको डिफ्रेन्ट ल्याङ्ग्वेजेस, गुजराती र इङ्ग्लिस, त्यो चाहिँ त्यो म्यासअप सङ्ग्स गराउँछ. एन्ड सी हेज गट लाइक, I think today she has got like 6 million followers on YouTube.
Shit.
And मैले इन्टरभ्यू गर्दा चाहिँ I think she had 3.5-4 million जस्तो follower थियो हैन. And when I interviewed Bijay Gautam, things started picking up really. Okay. So a lot of people started noticing about my show, and then then the show started picking up momentum after that. So I think it was probably that episode after which show started getting a lot of traction.
So how does it work? A guy who does not much have followers, fans, got like you get people with millions of fans. So how do you approach people?
So again, you just observe closely to the people, and then understand what are the things that person matters the most. त्यो मान्छेले चाहिँ सबभन्दा म्याटर गर्ने कुरा चाहिँ के हो? फर इक्जाम्पल फर विद्याज केस, विद्या चाहिँ इन्डियाबाट युएस गएको इमिग्रेन्ट, एन्ड सी वाज in a way bullied in her school for her जस्तै she comes from South India होइन साउथ इन्डियामा इडली डोसा खान्छ होइन उनीहरूले अनि अमेरिकामा चाहिँ स्कुलमा इडली र डोसा लिएर जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ उसको युएसको फ्रेन्डहरूले चाहिँ उसको मजाक बनाउने होइन अनि एन्ड सी ह्याड अ ब्राउन स्किन होइन त्यसको अलग छुट्टै ऊ होइन एन्ड देन सी काइन्ड अफ ग्रु अप विथ द्याट and then coming from there and making her name on YouTube and त्यस पछाडि त now Vidya has done A.R. Rahman अनि शानसँग she has done Arrived भन्ने एउटा reality show जस्तो she has done for YouTube original होइन and now reaching at that level what I have realized what she truly cares for is हामी सबैले चाहिँ ड्रिम देख्न सक्छौँ and like if I coming from that background can achieve this every single girl child out there across the world can make name for themselves and which she actually made an Instagram post which before I reach out to any guest I like closely observe them what are the things that they really care about.
Nice.
And then when I shoot that email the first thing that I write is for example for Vidya's guest the first thing that I mentioned was Vidya, I know that you care a lot about the girl child, blah, blah, blah. And then, I know that you are inspiration to a lot of young girls in India. You coming and sharing your story on my podcast will inspire a lot of them. And then bang, it kind of clicked and then that's how, the interview happened. And, you just need to understand that people genuinely,
exactly.
understand them rather than, just because these people get a lot of media and interview requests all the time. So...
Nice. So how does it work? You basically structure your podcast into a different season and let's say this season I'm going to interview this many people. You shoot them an email.
Mine is not a seasonal one. It's like a ongoing thing.
Weekly one.
Yeah.
So
it's not like it's my show. Probably it's what's this podcast? Not a podcast. What's this talk show? Name any talk show. Let's say Tough talk for example. It's not it's my show where you do a seasonal thing. It's a tough talk that goes every week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and you shoot a couple of emails, few will reply, few will not, and
absolutely,
whoever will reply you will set a schedule and you will start recording.
Podcast गर्नुको सबभन्दा एउटा चाहिँ राम्रो लर्निङ चाहिँ मेरो लागि के हो भने learning to accept no and rejection from people. सुरुमा चाहिँ when you send email होइन तपाईँले कसैलाई इन्टरभ्यूमा आउन इन्टरभ्यू गराउन भन्दाखेरि people will either never respond or they will say no I don't want to come on your show and that really hurts.
It does.
And
I think you build a thick skin eventually.
अनि सुरुमा चाहिँ एकदमै दुःख लाग्छ क्या कस्तो आउन भने होला होइन यति मेहनत गरेर बोलाइरहेको छ यत्रो मेहनत सर्च यति दुःख गरेर खोजिरहेको छ यसलाई बोलाउँदै भनेर त्यसको टेड टक हेरेको छ त्यसलाई बोलाउनलाई होइन त्यत्रो रिसर्च गरेर एन्ड देन ही सेज नो आई डोन्ट वान्ट बी अन यर सो त्यति बेला चाहिँ एकदम दुःख लाग्छ बट इभेन्चुली यु गेट बेटर एट एक्सेप्टिङ नो विच काइन्ड अफ बिल्ड्स एज युआर सेइङ राइट थिक स्किन कि चाहिँ रिजेक्सन इज अल्सो पार्ट अफ द गेम सो नाउ लाइक इफ समबडी सेज नो आई अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड बिकज आज चाहिँ I have myself said no to a lot of opportunities which do not resonate with what I want to probably accomplish in my own life, and I think now I understand it's probably it's their time and they don't think they are gonna the same value if they invest that time and anything else than coming on my show. So and which is totally understandable. Like everybody has got their priorities.
Yes.
Yeah, and whatever your priority is, then you want to invest that time. So yeah.
So अहिले चाहिँ fast forward to 2020 you have the whole team who looks after the editing, the production part.
Yes, now as I mentioned, we have set up the company. So now we have a team who take care of editing and post production bit of it. So
okay. Back then normal computer my laptop ma je software available cha open source use garera.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I ever thought of doing a podcast on family for like यो pharmacy medical related कुनै podcast गर्ने सोच छ?
No. Now that we have started a company, probably we might do with a lot of different guests, but obviously I'm not going to host the show. So that's for sure.
मलाई कस्तो खतरा किन लागिरहेछ भन्दा we are doing a podcast on podcast.
Yeah. So I actually do another podcast on podcast. It's called Podcast Unfiltered.
Oh, wow. So what's that all about?
So that's a podcast about podcast where I chat with podcaster, where we talk about podcasting for podcasters.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a podcast unfiltered.
Okay. Yeah. So how do you right now? So after such a long experience, and I think you do a lot of coaching. I think you're in Nepal for how many times just for the podcast workshop? Twice.
लास्ट इयर चाहिँ एउटा हामीले गरेका थियौँ. यसपालि चाहिँ हामीले 3टा पडकास्ट वर्कसप गर्दैछौँ. लास्ट मन्थ एउटा हामीले विराटनगरमा गऱ्यौँ. अहिले चाहिँ म पोखरामा पडकास्ट वर्कसपको लागि आएको. अनि त्यस पछाडि 2 हप्ता पछाडि काठमाडौँमा पडकास्ट वर्कसप छ. फेरि सो यति बेला चाहिँ सो यति बेला चाहिँ दिज 3 वर्कसप जुन हामीले गरिरहेको छौँ यो चाहिँ युएस एम्बेसीको कोलाबोरेसनमा हामीले गरिरहेको छौँ. सो युएस एम्बेसी इज सपोर्टिङ दिस ट्रेनिङ. So we are doing these 3 podcast workshops.
These are normal high school people या bachelor people या कुनै एउटा लेभलको people trying to get into podcast as a business या कसरी selection छ, कसरी process छ यो whole?
So यसमा चाहिँ so whenever we have these workshops coming up, so we open up the applications form. So त्यसमा चाहिँ we ask bunch of questions. Why would you want to do podcast? What are the podcasts you listen to? And primarily we are shortlisting based on the ideas that people have to create the podcast. हैन कस्तो खालको पडकास्ट क्रिएट गर्ने भन्ने खालको जति आइडियाहरू छ नि त्यो बेस्डमा चाहिँ हामीले सेलेक्सन गरिरहेका छौँ.
त्यस्तो के स्ट्र्याटेजी फलो गर्छौ तिमी यस्तो यस्तो काइन्ड अफ पडकास्ट युज गर्ने भनेर?
So I mean to be very honest, the kind of applications that we get, I'm really so a lot of people have a lot of different ideas, but a lot of people do not have that clear clarity about exactly मैले के सो गर्ने भन्ने खालको. सो कन्टेन्ट स्ट्राटेजी भन्दा पनि टपिक मैले पडकास्ट के को बारेमा गर्ने त, लाइक फर इक्जाम्पल अन्टरप्रेन्योरसिपको बारेमा या फर इक्जाम्पल आर्टको बारेमा या वाट्स द टपिक सो द बेसिक थिङ द्याट आई लुक इज ओके वाट वुड यु लाइक टु डु अ पडकास्ट अबाउट. एटलिस्ट if somebody answers that well and if somebody has put some efforts in answering that question, I think that's just a testimony that somebody is serious of getting into this. Because US Embassy is supporting doesn't mean that you get anyone who is just applying. Exactly. There needs to be some quality, and that's something that we
so now
look for.
Because I know friends who start blog by simply going into Google, looking after keywords, trying to find what people really do search about, and then they start a blog. So podcast would be a different game, isn't it? It's not about what people are looking, it's about what do you really want to talk about.
So obviously what people are looking is also the part of the game, but so I think a lot of people actually call me up and say मैले पडकास्ट सुरु गर्नु छ कुन माइक किन्ने होला, के टेक्नोलोजी मैले गर्नुपर्छ होला. So lot of the questions are around technology, right? Which is something not important, which I truly believe in. So even before having that first thought, मैले पडकास्ट सुरु गर्छु भन्नुभन्दा पनि पहिला मैले चाहिँ I generally ask people to ask themselves these 3 things or have clarity of these 3 things, right? So पहिला चाहिँ मैले I ask them to have clarity of why. किन? Why would you want to do a podcast? Podcast किन गर्न खोजा हो? Do you want to make money? Do you want to build connections? Do you want to probably make a business out of it? Or do you want to be popular? तपाईँको रिजन चाहिँ के हो? Why? हैन त्यो unless your why is जस्तै मैले भने नि अगाडि मेरो एक्जाम्पलमा. So my why was I wanted to learn from these people and figure out think for my on journey, and I was learning a lot from these people. So I wanted to learn from these people genuinely, right? So if it was not the reason, if I said I want to be famous, 2 महिना गऱ्यो 3 महिना गऱ्यो ए बाबा 50 भन्दा त 60 जना मान्छेले सुनेकै छैन भनेको इट्स नट गन वर्क हैन भने पछाडि छोड्दै भाइ, and then you close that and that doesn't drive you to 6 months. You have no following, but you are still continuously pushing out episode after episode. Why? Because you are learning from these people, because you are you are passionate about doing the stories,
because the whole process of doing podcasts, because you have gained something, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And the whole energy of you getting a lot of information out of the guest should inspire you to keep on producing the podcast.
Yeah. So आज पनि मैले भन्छु द इन्स्पायरिङ टकबाट सबभन्दा धेरै इन्स्पायर्ड भएको मान्छे भने मैले
हो
है. So I'm not sure about if there are listeners. I mean, it's not that people are not, they do send messages saying somebody coming out of depression and so that some beautiful stories that listeners has shared about after listening to the show. But still I still believe that I'm the guy who is most inspired by the inspiring talk, right? So as I mentioned, यदि त्यो why strong छैन भने like you wouldn't do it, right?
Exactly.
So that's the number one. You need to understand why even I want to do it, because creating a podcast, it's going to take a lot of time, efforts, energy of yours.
Persistent.
And persistent, right? And if you are not committed to it, and if you don't have something that's driving you, it's not worth it.
True.
Right? That's one. Number two, who is your listener?
Who are you targeting?
Who is your target audience? That's like another thing that you need to have absolute clarity of if you are looking at starting a podcast, right? If you don't have the understanding of, your audience, then you don't know who you are creating content for. Like, हजुरआमाको लागि podcast गरे हो भने, for example, for that age group को लागि गरे हो भने, there is a different style the way you communicate the same message.
Exactly.
यदि college student को लागि गरे हो भने, then the whole structure and the way you would communicate the same message would totally be different. Probably you want to be more casual for the college kids. Professionals को लागि गरे हो भने चाहिँ, then you have a total more professional approach to it. Probably you want to talk it more, your language and the way you deliver the content, that's totally going to differ, right? You need to have that understanding where audience go, right? Who is your listener? That's another thing that I want people to have absolute clarity of. And the third thing is, what's the unique thing that I'm bringing on the table?
Yes.
Right? So
it cannot be just another podcast.
Just another podcast. And that's exactly a lot of people do, right? Just another podcast, right? अब चाहिँ अनुपले द डुवर्स गरेछ, खतरा चलेछ, अनुपले जस्तै एन्टरप्रेन्योर्सलाई बोलाउने, मार्केटरलाई बोलाउने, पडकास्टरलाई बोलाउने, गफान नै भइहाल्यो नि त, right? So yeah, I mean it there cannot be, so the doers is always going to be better than the copy of doers.
True,
right?
True.
So try and find your own true self and what's unique thing about you.
त्यसको लागि चाहिँ I think मान्छेले चाहिँ के बुझ्नु पर्छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ यस्तो संसार यस्तो युनिक छ, यति धेरै डाइभर्सिफाइड मान्छे छ, there is a market even if you talk about just a bamboo के.
Absolutely. Actually, I mean, एउटा चाहिँ मेरो क्लाइन्टले अहिले गार्डनिङमा पडकास्ट गर्दैछ, पडकास्टिङ अबाउट गार्डनिङ, राइट? एन्ड एउटा चाहिँ मेरो स्टुडेन्टले, शी डज अ पडकास्ट, एन्ड उसको पडकास्ट चाहिँ रिभल्भ्स अराउन्ड रनिङ, ओन्ली अराउन्ड रनर्स, राइट? म्याराथन रनर्स, हाफ म्याराथन रनर्स, only about marathon runners and story of the runners. And there is a podcast about motorcyclists, just the biking community. The guy only talks to chats with the bikers, right? The guy, people who goes to mountains and on mountain bikes and all of that. So I mean, you can pick, and podcast is a niche topic. You pick any one topic, you talk about photography, you talk about art, you talk about science, history, literature, a lot of topics, anything. Right? But this is but that needs to be something that you are passionate about.
True. अहिले तिमीलाई कहिले के हुन्छ, because you are running a company, पडकास्टको गेम बुझिसकेको छौ होइन, you have already figured out a way to make money, ढप होस्ट राखेर ढप डिफ्रेन्ट भर्टिकलमा चाहिँ पडकास्ट सुरु गरिदिन्छ, जस्तो इनर्जी आउँदैन बेला बेलामा.
So that's something that we are doing with the wine studio, but we don't want to. So I mean, so there are few shows that we are producing. So there are different needs, right? You just understand, like that could be Bollywood, that could be cricket, for example. If you're in India, right, cricket is huge there,
yes.
Right? So Nepalma गऱ्यो भने चाहिँ tourism is like a big thing that you can do. I mean, I don't know why nobody is doing a podcast on, let's say, travel podcast in Nepal.
English or in Nepali.
You can do either. Like नेपालमा चाहिँ, so I'm not sure about Nepal, होइन. इन्डियामा चाहिँ एउटा इन्ट्रेस्टिङ स्टार्ट चाहिँ एकजना अन्टरप्रेन्योरले मसँग म कुरा गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ, he said, do you know what is the first loan people of my age or the millennials are taking today? जस्तै हाम्रो बाबाको पालामा, मम्मीको पालामा भनौँ न, त्यति बेला चाहिँ पहिलो लोन चाहिँ कति बेला लिन्थ्यो त? घर बनाउनु पऱ्यो भने होइन, या गाडी किन्नु पऱ्यो भने होइन, for those liabilities. You know what is the first loan that people of our age taking? Travel. I mean, that's crazy, right? People don't want to. Now we are moving to shared economy. Shared economy भने चाहिँ अब मैले चाहिँ बाइक किन्नु पर्दैन, मैले टुटल मगायो भने हुन्छ. I don't need to have it. होइन, उबर ओला भने चाहिँ अब जस्तै इन्डियामा चाहिँ ट्याक्सी चल्छ, उबर होइन. अब मैले चाहिँ I don't have to, like people are
you
moving
to own it.
You don't need to own it. Absolutely, right? So people are moving to a shared economy. So that's why I don't want liabilities, right? I would want to experience. I want experience. So that's why like people are moving toward experience, right? I mean, why not create a show on adventure? Travel, food, yeah.
जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल अघि चाहिँ मैले किन ल्याङ्ग्वेज चाहिँ किन सोचेको भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ नेपालीमा कन्टेन्टमा जस्तै अब जे भने पनि कन्ट्री सानो भयो, सानो ठुलो, लेट्स फर्गेट द्याट होइन, पपुलेसन त सानो छ नि त होइन, लिसनर त ल्याङ्ग्वेज जस्तै डुवर्स गर्दाखेरि पनि बेला बेलामा मलाई कस्तो आउँछ नि ओके एउटा पोइन्टमा गएपछि चाहिँ प्योर इङ्ग्लिसमा जानुपर्छ किनभने द काइन्ड अफ सब्सक्राइबर्स द्याट वी आर गेनिङ द काइन्ड अफ पिपल आर लिसनिङ टु अस विल स्टिल अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड इङ्ग्लिस सो मेबी हामी प्रपर इङ्ग्लिसमा जाने हो कि भन्ने त्यस्तो इनर्जी पनि आउँछ कि तर फेरि अगेन
आई वान्ट एड समथिङ देयर नेपालीमा पडकास्ट गऱ्यो भने यो कम्पिटिसन इज लेस एन्ड लेट्स से even if you reach 50% of the entire Nepal's population 3 करोडको आधा तपाईँ पुग्नुभयो भने चाहिँ 1.5 करोड भयो है लेट्स से 1.5 करोडको पनि आधा भयो भने चाहिँ लेट्स से 1 करोडले पनि पडकास्ट सुन्यो लेट्स से द डुवर्स 1 करोडले पनि सुन्यो या 50 लाखले पनि सुन्यो भने चाहिँ 50 लाखले पनि सुन्यो भने चाहिँ कति 5 million 5 million is a huge number and 5 million podcast listeners I'm saying 50 lakh that's 1/4 भन्दा पनि कम भयो हैन 50 into 6 भने 1/6 of Nepal's population ले पनि podcast सुन्यो भने the doers you are still at 5 million listeners and do you know
बिजला चक्लेट खुवाएर गुलियो कुरा यार
now do you know what's the number of like US को सबभन्दा टप पडकास्ट हुन्छ नि लाइक टप 1% पडकास्ट ग्लोबली there are 8 लाख जोय रोगन हैन if you look at the Joe Rogan's number then that would be somewhere around like 45 to 60 million probably a month right so then यदि 4 वटा एपिसोड you are producing then like you are already there on top 1% not of Nepal but global now let's look at audience को size बाट obviously that's what you said right कि नेपालको audience को size सानो छ भने पछाडी मेरो grow हुनेछ now wait now I'll tell you English मा गर्ने now you said कि English को त market छिटो छ English मा जले पनि सुन्छ now there are let's say at least 120 countries जहाँबाट चाहिँ मजाले English podcast create गर्न सक्छन् you are competing with 120 different countries why would somebody for example let's say want to listen to a podcast produced from Nepal on entrepreneurship why would a guy in US want to listen to podcast from Nepal produced on entrepreneurship for example they have like enough resources already out there
true
right so then you are like kind of competing with a global audience when you know do in English त्यो भएर चाहिँ I would recommend people to do like go super niche and like because there is less competition and as I mentioned already a lot of people for example you know on my own podcast you know workshop ko form ma some of them have mentioned you know their favorite podcast is Doers right so which means I think the big rather you should think कि अब चाहिँ हामी चाहिँ हो पुरै नेपालीमै जानुपर्छ so that अब बसेर चाहिँ हैन like yeah like my mom YouTube मा त्यो गायकको त लोकदोरी गायकको त हेर्नुहुन्छ नि हैन त्यसको छोराको इन्टरभ्यू त्यसको मम्मीको इन्टरभ्यू त्यसको बाको इन्टरभ्यू त्यसको ज्वाइँको इन्टरभ्यू लाइक all of them like crazy now imagine like you know people sitting down and listening to Doers like all of them right so I think having it and making it accessible to people
is what matters
is really matters and like also as I mentioned you need to have that clarity who is your audience and what you are trying to get out of them so I think that's important